Bill Gates Sr., of course, is the dad of Bill Gates, and obviously at this point he's fabulously wealthy. He was pretty wealthy to begin with, and then his son obviously made all this money. But he thinks that we need to have a really strong estate tax. And he's part of a group of very wealthy Americans. It's called a United for a Fair Economy, who are saying, please, for the love of God, make sure you take our money. Okay? And what he means by that literally is, we need the estate tax for when people die because, look, society helped us to become who we are. If we don't give back to society, a new Bill Gates won't come, okay, et cetera, et cetera. And right now, it's so important now because they're debating the estate tax right now. The House passed a version that is not very good. It would have a $3.5 million exemption, a $7 million for married couples. So if you die with $6.5 million, you get to keep all, not keep it, you're dead, but give it to your family or whoever you want, and it doesn't get taxed at all. But above $7 million per family, it gets taxed at 45%. Now, the reason they did that is because Bush earlier had passed a law saying that there would be no estate tax in 2010, which would cost the government billions of dollars, untold billions of dollars. And the guys who fought for it were, of course, generally the really rich people, including the Walton family who owns the Walmarts, right? They're greedy, they're pushing for more and more and more. And what Bill Gates Sr. is saying, along with a number of other wealthy Americans, is, hey, let's make sure that, one, the worst case scenario doesn't happen where there's no estate tax in 2010. And then secondly, let's try to improve the House bill, because even in the House bill as it stands now, we would lose, the American taxpayer would lose $391 billion just over the next 10 years. The estate tax used to be 55% for people over $1 million. So you could leave $1 million, and then afterwards it's 55%. He said, if we don't go back to that, we're going to lose $391 billion from American taxpayers. Now, here are the quotes from him that I love. I like how normally you present the story.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm presenting this one. Okay, and then we'll get your commentary. Here's what Bill Gates Sr. says. A common and misguided criticism of the estate tax is that individuals who work hard and save their money should be entitled to pass on the fruits of that labor to their family. I'm not against working hard, saving money, or taking care of your family. However, we must acknowledge that the person who accumulates wealth in this country was not able to do that independently. The simple fact of living in America, a country with stable markets and an unparalleled opportunity, fueled in part by government investment in technology and research, something my family has had plenty of firsthand experience with, provide an irreplaceable foundation for success and have created a society which makes it possible for some men, women, and their children to live an elegant life. I attended the University of Washington under the GI Bill and then became a lawyer, enjoying a successful career that allowed me to provide well for my family so that they in turn were able to create their own wealth. So I believe that those of us who have benefited so greatly from our country's investment in our lives should be asked to give a portion of our wealth back to invest in opportunities for the future. I mean, that is...
What is he proposing specifically? Because I am not down with taxing 55% after $1 million with the state tax. That's
wow.
Way too much money. Come on, man. No.
All right, that's interesting.
I'm not down with that. Look, let's say, let me whisper of a dream, right? And I become, I have $5 million in the bank, and I'm gone. I'm dead, right? And I have 3 children, and I want to pass that money down. Taxing that $5 million at 55% is ridiculous.
I don't think so. First of all, you earn the money. Your kids didn't. They get it for free. Okay?
But I earn that money. I mean, people want to earn that money so they can provide a good life for their children. They don't earn that money just for them. I mean, one of the reasons why I want to become rich is so I can support my family, give my family everything they could possibly want.
And that's the American dream. And Bill Gates Sr. recognizes that American dream. We all do, right? But at the same time, look, part of the reason that you, in this scenario, would have had $5 million is because you live in this country that gave you that opportunity. Now, we want you to be able to pass some of that off to your kids. Of course, it's a natural human instinct. But at the same time, we also want to provide that for everybody, right? And we want to be able to pass it down so that someone who isn't born in your family, who isn't born into that privilege, assuming that you got that kind of money, also has that opportunity. That makes sense. Now, what we're arguing about, and it's a legitimate argument, is what's the percent?
Yes, bounds of reason.
Okay.
I agree with estate tax. I think that there should be a tax, okay? However, 55% is ridiculous. That is, I mean, that's more than half.
But Anna,
that's
think
not
about
okay.
it this way. Think about it this way. And I hear you. And in the past, I've thought that was way too high. Okay. And part of who changed my mind was the listeners, and we've had a lot of dialogue about this back and forth. But when America was creating the greatest middle class and the greatest economy that made us what we were, the highest tax brackets, not even the estate tax, for the tax brackets for the people who earn, was between 70 and 90%. So obviously that still worked, and that provided a great society.
But
now,
that was for the wealthiest 1%. We're talking about like billionaires, right?
No. The estate tax applies to the less than the wealthiest 1%. I mean, it's much less than 1%. These are much more wealthy than even the guys who were in the highest tax bracket. So that's.
So if you tax them at 70%, they're still left with a huge amount of money, right?
Yeah, but so are these guys. Yeah, and look, you're not taxing Conrad Hilton, who built the Hilton Empire. You're taxing Paris Hilton, and you're taxing her on money she did not earn. It's one thing if you tax Conrad Hilton at 70%, well, he earned that money, right? I'm a little uncomfortable with that. I think that's a high number, right? But if you tax Paris Hilton at 55%, I'm not nearly as uncomfortable, because she was just happened to be in this case, the granddaughter of Conrad Hilton, right? And I know it's a big number.
And Paris Hilton is like the worst example. I mean,
I know, that's why I use it.
It's the best example for your case, right? But it's the worst.
No, look, you got to understand. Anna has what we all do, which is this instinct of, I want to be able to give it to my kids.
Right.
And that's why the people who fight against the estate tax are able to, play that card. And they're not that wrong. We all have that instinct. But the question is where? And the question is it 45%? Is it 55%? Et cetera. Now, if you talk to me about the government needs taxes, right? Obviously, and this obviously creates a lot of tax revenue. $391 billion is the difference basically between 45 and 55%, right? Plus the difference in $1 million. Now, but I'm willing to listen. So if you say, Anna, you know what? It shouldn't be $1 million. Maybe it should be $7 million, right? But then above that, yes, 55%. Because if I pass along some, now for me, I don't know where I would draw that line. I don't know if it's 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. Okay, but there is a line where to draw.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
And then after you get past that line, then I would say, yeah, I don't mind taxing it at a very high rate because, yeah, you do provide opportunities for others that are not in that family. They did get that help to earn that money. Here, let me give you one last quote. John Bogle is the founder and former CEO of the Vanguard Group, also very, very rich guy, also part of this group. And he says, look, what I don't ever forget, as do some of my colleagues, that I benefited from a lot of the business incentives and laws as I was building the Vanguard Group to what it is today, and I owe some of that back. He said, if they didn't give me the tax incentives, if they didn't give me all this regulation, et cetera, I wouldn't have had the money in the first place, right? So I want to give some of it to my children, and then some of it to the country that allowed me to do that. That's patriotic. So this debate is totally legitimate as to where to draw the line, but I'm going to go with the John Bogles and the Bill Gates Seniors of the world.
And you know what? There is a lot of validity to that argument, because as you're reading it to me, right, I'm thinking about all the opportunities that I've been given, right? And one of the opportunities was the state university that I went to. And the reason why I was able to go is because it was super affordable. It had great professors that were educated in schools in the United States. So yes, there is validity to that, and I agree with it. So, but where we draw that line is, where I can change my opinion.
This is why they charge us with being moderates. Okay, we have been accused of being moderates because we try to figure out what's reasonable, right? We understand the points being made, and you got to try to find out where the right line in the middle is. It doesn't always have to be in the middle, but just use common sense in figuring out where it is.